Hello and welcome to There's No Business Like, a podcast where friends and industry colleagues explore topics and interview leaders in our industry of professional theatrical touring.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of There's No Business Like. I'm Kevin Maynard coming at you from Tallahassee, and this week I'm joined by one other podcast host, Katie.
Hi, everyone. Katie Trzaska-Miller with Michigan Maven Creative Associates. Happy to be with you, Kevin. This is a little weird, but
That seemed like a question.
It's a busy day for everybody. So,
absolutely. Katie, I thought we'd kick things off this week and chat a little bit about you and see what's happening in your world. About how long ago did you start Michigan Maven?
I am actually coming up on my 2-year anniversary of starting my company. So it'll be 2 years in July since founding Michigan Maven Creative Associates.
That is very exciting, Katie. So 2 whole years as a business owner, as a boss, as a founder, as all of those things. So let's go back to the beginning there. How did it feel to launch Michigan Maven?
It was completely unexpected. Being an entrepreneur or a business owner is never something I anticipated. Never thought that would be in my future. It was an idea I was sort of playing around with. And actually, it was my dad who said, "You should start your own company. You should do consulting." And I was like, "No, I have a full-time job. I am a parent. Like, I'm running around, I'm doing all these things." But when something shifted in my life and I needed to have a break from full-time arts administrative work, it just seemed like a good time to do that and a great way to explore other parts of the industry and stretch my creative muscles in a different way. So it was a little scary. It was uncertain territory for me, but it's been an incredible journey so far.
Excellent. Let's talk about that journey. So what does Michigan Maven do, or what are you doing as Michigan Maven?
So the company, I guess me, along with a few colleagues that have come in to do freelance work under the umbrella of Michigan Maven, we really focus on 2 areas of consulting and project management. So consulting, sort of what you think of, working with organizations on mission, vision, values, doing coaching and consulting in that space, programming, accessibility, things like that. So really doing like coaching and consulting in that space. But I have really found a need for project-based administrative work. So whether that's short-term or long-term, people need folks that are creative and capable and can really just jump into a project from the beginning without a lot of hand-holding and be able to do things quickly and turn them around. And so I've really found a niche in sort of like the arts administrator for hire space and have been able to build a ton of client work, jumping into projects, building projects from the ground up for organizations, jumping into the middle of things and taking over. It's been exciting to sort of explore what that looks like.
Amazing. Katie, I think you just found the subtitle or the motto for Michigan Maven. I mean, Arts Administrator for Hire is a perfect one.
And that's really, I think that's how I pitch myself and pitch the company, and what we can offer is like, we're arts administrators for hire. So like I said, it could be short-term, long-term, and we're working in a variety of spaces. So everything from like data, like crunching your ticket data and analyzing that for trends or patterns, to doing some marketing consulting, to I'm working like with the 2A Tour Development Collective, for instance. Building that project with our colleagues from the ground up has been so satisfying, and we're just wrapping up cycle 2 of funding and commissioning awards for that. And that, I think, is really at the heart of what I do, is being able to offer the services that people really need and being able to do it in a creative, effective, and efficient way for them.
Fantastic. I know sometimes we're not able to talk about some of these things, but are you able to share some of the clients that you're working with or have worked with and some of the projects that you've been working on?
Yeah, so I've been doing, I actually have like a really wide variety of clients. So I have worked with River Raisin Center for the Arts here in Monroe, Michigan. I did some consulting with their board when they were really looking to sort of do a reset on their mission, vision, and values for their organization, which is an exciting prospect. They're a historic venue in the Southeast eastern corner of Michigan, very similar to a venue I used to run in West Michigan. So it was a great opportunity to bring my experience full circle and offer some of where I started at the Playhouse at White Lake and how I've grown and changed, and bring that into another community, which was really great. I do contracting and marketing work for artist management agencies, which is really interesting to see the other side of the field and use those contracting skills in a different way, which is exciting. I have been doing some work for the Wharton Center. So some folks may be aware that Eric Olmscheid and the Wharton Center team debuted a brand new work about Sally Hemings earlier in 2026. So I did some work with Eric on that project and getting it situated to potentially tour other venues here in the state of Michigan, which I loved. I love being able to bring new work to other venues in my state. So that's a really exciting thing that's sort of still ongoing. Two-Way Tour Development Collective. And I've also been doing some like artist coaching as well. So I'm working with one artist in particular and prepping them to enter the Performing Arts Center market and the conference world. And that is really exciting as well. But beyond that, I've just done at least a handful of like just 1 hour sort of calls pro bono, like not expecting anything out of it, but artists that I've met, whether it's conferences or through the collective, for instance, that are just looking for some guidance of how to get started in the field. Like it's such an unknown territory. And we've just gotten on Zoom and just chatted about what does that look like? What does it feel like? How do you go about breaching the walls of that part of the market? How do they know when they're ready to do that? What are presenters looking for? So I'm coming at it from a presenter perspective. I think artists get a lot of advice from maybe the agent and artist side of things, but they don't get to talk to presenters necessarily one-on-one and get the presenter perspective. So that has been really fulfilling to just be able to sit down with a handful of artists and just sort of do coaching in that way, just for fun. It's fun for me, and I'm hopeful that it's beneficial for them as well.
Fantastic. Katie, you touched on something kind of interesting there that I think, many of us struggle with in the industry and especially in the consulting space. And I think, sometimes I attribute this to like our Midwest hospitality and our Midwest niceness. Like you talked about those 1 hour like pro bono calls where you're just talking and conversing with an artist or a colleague. And I think this happens to a lot of us. I mean, how do you know, or is this sort of like one of those things that like when you feel it, like that it should move into the consulting space versus just you graciously giving your time? Like, how do you know when and how to make that transition?
That's a great question.
Yeah, trust me, I don't know if you even have an answer for that. I just know that it's such a challenging and tricky thing to simultaneously like want to improve our industry and then also like respect your time as and expertise as an individual.
Sure. It is a good question. I think for me, at least, it would be after, sort of having those conversations with folks. If it was, and I think there's an understanding, like I'm a consultant or, in this space and we're just having conversation and I'm not charging. I think if an artist or somebody else I'm talking with came back to me and said, I'd like more of your time, I don't know that they would necessarily expect beyond that sort of initial conversation for me to just do more work for them for free. I think they know what my role in the industry is and certainly what my business is. If they really wanted more of my time, I expect that my colleagues would understand that I'm in business and trying to make a go of this and would be respectful of that. And if they want more of my time, they're going to come back to me and ask to have a conversation about contracting me further. Like that's my expectation of my colleagues. Because I think
so. It sort of sounds like it's in the follow-up.
I think you just feel it out. And if it's somebody that I want to work with further and they're interested in working with me, then we just figure it out from there. I haven't had anybody demand more free time from me because I do think that we're respectful of each other and we understand that like we're all hustling. We're all hustling at this point.
Yeah. I guess it probably is sort of also lies in the individuals that you surround yourself with and that you are conversing with. So that makes sense. I was just curious because I too find myself sort of in that situation, not as a consultant, but sort of as a friend and colleague where I have these moments where I go, at what point should I be
Yeah.
like, hey, I also have a full-time job? uh,
Well,
so,
and I have 2 full-time jobs, so I think I do have to be a little discerning. And if somebody is coming at me with a simple question or an ask for a warm introduction to somebody else, like, of course,
mhm,
I'm going to send that
yeah.
email and that's going to happen. If it's much beyond sort of those sorts of things after we've initially met, then yeah, I would try and turn that to like, okay, well, let's talk about a contract and figure out what that would look like and have a conversation about it. I don't know. I'm probably too soft. Probably too soft about it all, but I'm not the
Not
type of
always a
person
bad
that's
thing,
gonna
Katie.
not
So,
gonna demand, certain things of people. Like, I want to make it work for folks that I'm working with too. I really want to work with small to mid-sized clients, because first of all, that's where my experience lies, but also those are the folks that are the backbone of our industry that need the most support, that need the most guidance, that need somebody in their corner. Because when you're trying to do this on your own, and you don't have anybody to support you or to go to with questions or help you navigate the conference maze, as it were, it can be really intimidating. It can really burn you out. And we might lose some great talent from people not having the support that they need. So I think I would always err on lending more support, even if I don't get
mhm,
paid for it, than saying no to somebody who really, truly needs what I have to offer. Which I
fantastic.
know is a bad business model. I understand that, but also, like, it's just in my nature.
Yeah, I mean, but think about it. I mean, we talk to artists regularly, and some of them, I mean, we have some conversations with folks who, will sort of say the same thing, that this might be a bad business model, but it's best for the ecosystem. And sometimes, oftentimes we find that what we put out, we get back. So like being gracious with that time, like with somebody, leads to talking to somebody else, or them being like, oh, you should reach out to Katie, and then eventually like that leads to something bigger. And obviously there are boundaries. Like that's a it's a tough thing to navigate in this industry, because we have so many friends and colleagues who are near and dear to us, and so that's great. Katie, I'm curious that as Michigan Maven, if you could choose your either ideal type of job, ideal client, or ideal thing that you could invest your time into, like what is the thing that really drives Katie Trzaska-Miller and Michigan Maven?
Good questions today, Kevin. My mission is to help organizations, individual artist clients create art and space for art in the most people centric, joyful way possible. Because I've grown throughout my career, I have seen various ways of creating art and various ways of running organizations. And I believe that people are at the heart of everything that we do. And if we don't take care of our people, whether that's our employees or our artists or our audiences, we can't build community and we can't create great art together. So I want to help clients really find that and find ways to do that and define their values and define their mission in that way. Um, get creative about how they're going to use their resources, how they're going to build community partnerships, whatever that might look like, so that everybody that they're trying to serve is served in the best way possible. So that's really to the question, but that's sort of at the heart of what I want to do with Michigan Maven, and that's why I do focus on small to mid-sized organizations right now, and clients, because that's where the good stuff happens. That's where like the grassroots, boots on the ground, like face to face work is happening. And again, those are the organizations that like need attention and support a lot of the time. I have been working with the TYA Tour Development Collective for 2 years now, and I think that's the type of project that I really love, is creating something new out of nothing. Like, our colleagues had this idea and they said, help us build it. And I said, okay, let's go. And we have built something out of nothing over the last 2 years. And it's been an incredible process to be a part of. And literally I have built every single process and procedure and communication and email and figured out, how are we going to do this thing? How are we going to go from 9 venues to 21 venues in our second year? And herd all the cats and organize all these people and schedule the Zoom calls and do the pitches and figure out how we're going to get everybody on the same page when it comes to the funding and commissioning of these new works. And it's it's a lot, but it's also so joyful. And we are creating space for creativity and new work. And that in turn means new audiences and new connections. And it's that kind of project where we're creating something that is going to serve so many people that I want to keep doing.
Excellent. Excellent. So, Katie, looking back at your career in the arts and leading up to starting Michigan Maven, if you could identify like one or two things like in your career that you think have actually helped you the most in starting and running and managing Michigan Maven, what would those moments or things be?
Oh, I go back. I mean, everything I do is stage management. At the end of the day, I'm a professional stage manager, just not in a theater. And so I go back to like my very first stage management gig in college, where I received my first training in how to be a professional stage manager. And I think that has set me up for literally everything I've done, but even to this moment, because I do work full time for a foundation, and then I'm running Michigan Maven, and I'm parenting, and I'm volunteering. I sit on 2 nonprofit boards. Like the day that we're recording this, I'm actually going to be running the Juneteenth block party here in Midland, Michigan. Like I'm the logistics chair for that event. So after this, I will be going and setting up an entire block party for 700 people. So I'm doing a lot of things all at the same time. And so I think just approaching this as a stage manager with those organizational skills and the balance of prioritizing what needs to come first, second, third. I'm not good at building in breaks for myself, but a stage manager is required, right, to build in breaks for the cast and crew during rehearsals. So I try and use that as a reminder to build in times of rest for myself as well from that stage manager ethos. Doesn't always happen, but yeah, my time at the Playhouse at White Lake is where my passion for small organizations comes from, and understanding the unique challenges that small organizations face, because I was literally the only employee for 9 months out of the year in that organization. How I ever did that, I look back at that time and I go, how did I do that? Well, I was 23. I had way more energy. Um, I could operate on 1 to 2 hours of sleep a night, right? It's like, it wasn't a big deal to work 80 hours in a week to run that theater completely by myself. But I don't want somebody else to have to go through that. So if they can hire me, or somebody with Michigan Maven, to give them the support, even short-term support, that they need to achieve one of their goals, so no one else ever has to go through what I went through in running the Playhouse, that would be a huge achievement in my book, because I don't want anyone to have to do what I did to get to where I am today, because that is unsustainable. And I mean, a great example of how problematic our industry could be. Brilliant, but problematic. And I love that time in my life, but I also don't want any of my colleagues to ever have to work 80 hours a week to run a venue completely on their own.
So, Katie, you've mentioned that you wear many hats. This isn't your only job. This is another job. So, you also work for a foundation. You're also a parent. You're also on those boards. So, you wear many hats. How do you show up in all of those spaces and bring all of that into your work as Michigan Maven?
It's not easy, and I have found that I've had to challenge myself in terms of transparency, both with my clients, my friends and family, and that includes my son, Leo. He's 7.5 now, and uh, this spring, for instance, was really it was crazy busy. I had 5 projects for clients going at one time. He was playing baseball. I had my own dance recitals. I was performing with the mom ensemble. It literally all came to a head sort of in the second week of May, and I just had to be okay with telling my clients leading up to that week, clients, not this coming week. I am having my literal busiest week of the year. So I am not going to be very reachable. Any of the things that we are working on are just going to be at a pause for this coming week, because I need to be present for all of these other things that are going on. And everyone was totally fine with that. They appreciated the heads up. They appreciated the transparency. I think it sets a good example for what work-life balance can be and setting expectations. Or on the flip side of the same coin, I do that with the boards that I sit on, my volunteer obligations. I try and let people know, hey, I have a really heavy week of client work that I'm working on, so I'm not going to get to that volunteer project, or I can't have that meeting because I have this other meeting. Like, I really do try and be transparent about my workload and how I'm balancing all the things, because I think it's important. And I also hate not showing up for things. And I'm not a person to just flake. So I think the more transparent I can be with all of those commitments in my life, the better off I am, the better off everyone else is. And then I guess on the third side of that coin is my son. And I think as a working mother, working parent, it's really important for me to be transparent with him about why mommy is so tired, why mommy is so busy, why mommy needs you to go to bed on time. So that I can get to the things that I need to do, right? Whether that is cleaning the kitchen or doing my client work or getting on a nonprofit board meeting at 9 p.m. at night, because that's literally the only time that we all have to meet. I'm always working late into the night. And so when I'm distracted or tired or whatever that is, or we are bouncing from meeting to meeting, he and I together, I do think it's important for me to explain to him why that is, and that showing up in community for others is important to me. It's an important way I live my life, service to the field, service to my community, being present for my friends and family. Like, those are important things that I value. And I think being transparent with him and setting an example for him is really important. I never want to hide what I do from my child, because that's who I am. It's just me. And so I think parents work really hard to hide things from their kids, how much it takes to run a household, how much it takes to work, how much it takes to make money so that you can have the things that you need in life or go to that summer camp or whatever it is, right? So I'm trying to change that, and I'm trying to model that differently in my own personal life, but I also think it's important to model that in your professional life too. And so I think it's in my very small way of trying to change how we operate in this industry and helping people understand that, like, there really is no line between work Katie and mom Katie, or work Katie and volunteer Katie. It is one big continuum, and all of those things get mushed together. And because you can't say this is work, this is personal. It's just not the way the world works anymore. But we like to think that it does. We like to think that it's black and white, and those two things can be separated, for forever, but they absolutely can't. So I think being transparent in those ways is my way of trying to change the industry, one conversation at a time, or one example at a time, of how to think differently about how we are showing up for ourselves and for each other.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like transparency leads to managing expectations
and trust, right? And I think in this in this day and age, it is hard to build trust. And so the more transparent I am, the more trustworthy I am to all the people that I'm trying to serve in my life.
Excellent. Katie, if somebody is looking to hire a consultant, a part-time administrator, an administrator for hire, a stage manager, all of those things, what is the best way to get in touch with you?
Oh, if anyone wants to get in touch, you can visit my website, MichiganMaven.art. Send me a message there. I'd be happy to talk to you about what you have going on, what services you're looking for, and how I might be able to help.
Katie, thank you. It was great catching up with you and learning more about Michigan Maven and that aspect of your life. I'm very excited to see where this goes next. Thank you all for joining us here, and we'll see you all next week on There's No Business Like.
All right, everyone. Thanks for listening to There's No Business Like. Our producers and hosts are Brian Zelmer, Josh Benson, Kevin Maynard, Katie Miller, and me, Danielle Van Hook. Views expressed in this podcast are ours alone and are not reflective of the organizations we are a part of. Keep up with us at nobusinesslike.com. There you'll find links to all of our episodes and socials. If you like this podcast, give us a like, a follow, a review, or our favorite, a 5-star rating. Oh, wait, what was that site? I got it, don't worry. It is nobusinesslike.com. Do I sound out bus-I-ness every time I type it? Yep, sure do. Stay in touch, my friends.
You can reach me via my website. My God, what is my website?
Couldn't tell you.
I don't know. What is my website? MichiganMaven.art.
Brian, keep this part in.
My own website. I'm so busy looking at other people's websites and maintaining other people's websites, I don't look at my own. So if anybody wants to reach me, you can visit my website, MichiganMaven.art. Shoot me a message there, and I'd be happy to talk to you.